Finally, you've watched a couple episodes of Alien Earth. One episode,
All of
two,
them.
all of them.
Yeah, I binged the whole thing when
Holy
I
shit!
started it. I really
One
couldn't
night.
stop. Yeah. It was awesome.
What night was that?
That was last night. Like not I guess last night, the night
Uh,
before last night,
yeah, I was
my
gonna say
my
couldn't have
time
been
frame
last
was
night.
all.
Yeah, you were having fun last night.
Yeah.
But the night that you actually did that, if I wish I could have binged it like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that would have been my favorite way to see it.
Yeah, it
I
was
kind of
like
want to go
a
back.
huge movie, like kind of like
Yeah,
watching Lord of the Rings all together for the first time or something like that, where you're just were like, I couldn't get enough of it. It was a lot of my favorite stuff from the Alien franchise,
yeah,
getting to see all the technology and the androids and the new hybrids that they got going on in the series are really
right.
cool. Obviously, spoilers. We are going to be talking about the show, so
Yep.
um, we are
So
not going to tiptoe around any spoilers. So if you don't like that, definitely don't listen right now. But anyways,
unfortunately, that we have to kind of spill the beans,
yes,
but we want to talk about it because we're really excited about the show.
yeah,
It's
it is.
one of the best shows to come out in a long time.
Yeah, I really like getting to see the expansion of the corporations on Earth as well. And see that Earth is kind of like still kind of normal, like they're far into the future and it's like cyberpunky and like there's super dense cities, but then
But
also that island and their
you can
clothing.
see it being existing
Yeah,
right now in
yeah,
our lifetime. You
yeah,
can see that world existing. Like, I mean, if you watch The Fifth Element, you're like, okay, that's like way in a weird future on a different timeline and a different dimension,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But if you watch this, it seems like we could live in that world,
yeah,
like right now, like
yeah.
20 years from now, something like that.
And
Very close.
and I love the feeling of that this show like gives, a mix of like kind of everything that they've had from all the other movies,
Yeah.
like obviously there's a ton of stupid like character decisions,
Hmm.
and like some pacing issues, especially towards the end. But it never really felt like it really detracted from the whole experience for me because I could just tell whoever made it really likes the actual Alien franchise and like wants to expand on it in a way that's kind of
Do you remember
interesting.
what the cyborg? So he 65 years, I think, is what he said, right?
Yeah, for his
So
mission.
yeah. So literally, imagine like right now, we we I guess we're not quite. We couldn't be quite there because I mean the technology they had to put a spaceship, you know, up into orbit like that is probably that in and of itself is like 20 years in the future
Yeah,
at least. Um, so I don't know. Maybe it is around 75 years from now that could actually
yeah,
be the case where we actually send something out that is capable of, you know, kind of roaming
and
the
especially
galaxy.
if they were to build that in space too, like have a shipyard
Yeah.
in space. So
Yeah.
like you take a smaller vessel from the planet
Oh
to
yeah.
the shipyard, and then that's where the crew lives, and they put together
Just like the
these
space
much
station, they
larger.
built
Yep.
the space station
Yeah.
in orbit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I love the ideas, and it's space. Space is so cool, and
So
like,
floaty.
well, yeah, but like Romulus, I think doesn't get a lot of credit for its like shots in space. The fact that they are around like a ringed planet, and it
Mm-hmm.
is like having the collision with that is awesome. It like for a cinematic set piece in like a movie, it is great, but
Mm-hmm.
then even just the effects of space and whatnot, it just is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I
Well,
really enjoyed that.
the one cool thing about the show itself is that you at least get a glimpse into the world of, I guess, the genesis of that type of space program, a
Yeah,
space program that is that far flung. You know, whereas I mean, we're not just going to the moon or something like that,
yeah,
and you get to see, even if it's within a 65-year time frame, um, when you drop into all the alien movies, all these things have already been established. You know,
Yeah.
we've been out there, we've been, you know, kind of get dropped in the middle of a spacefaring society
Yeah.
that's already been doing it for a while, and it's all being related to us from their perspective on their ship and whatever planet they're on in the Alien movies. So, getting to see it from Earth perspective is really cool.
Yeah, it's always been kind of a mystery as to what Earth really looked like in the Alien series, like
Right.
before this, because it was always like there's been we've been so far in the future where it's been like they've totally abandoned Earth, right? Because it is so overgrown, I'm pretty sure, like
Right.
overrun with factories and they ended up killing the planet.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's like what happens by like 3 or 4 in the original like Ripley
I have to
trilogy.
say, I don't even know.
Yeah, it like those are that I think people forget how low of a low those movies were, like how low the series was when those movies were going on.
Yeah, the narrative is like very centered on what's happening right there, and they
Yeah.
kind of do a sideways glance at what's happening on Earth.
Yeah, and it works very well in the first and second one
Yeah.
because it's like they're such focused movies, those first ones, right? With
Yeah.
like well-written characters in them. And the third and fourth one are just they're so crazy, just like so out of left field and like they cancel out endings of like movies that people were really happy with, and they're
Right.
just like
Yeah.
it
It's,
just,
it's frustrating.
So and I feel like in that version they were talking about the Earth was like abandoned at some point because by that point we had like Ripley clones, it wasn't even the original Ripley, and
Yeah.
they were like thousands of years in the future, like or at least hundreds of years from when she had originally
Right.
encountered a xenomorph for the first time, So
Well, this makes me want to go back and watch them and
yeah,
pay attention to all those nuances
yeah,
because I never did before. I'm just like, where's the alien? The alien's coming
yeah,
up. He's gonna pop up anytime. People about to get fucked up. Because
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like at my age, at the time when started watching them, all I was looking for was the the scary action shit that was about to happen. I
yeah,
wasn't. It didn't even occur to me to be interested in any backstory or anything like that until now,
yeah,
pretty much for me, because the original movie was cool. It spawned some more movies. It spawned a lot of art, a lot of band paraphernalia.
yeah.
Um, but from one movie to the next, one they were always separated pretty far apart. I think the first and second one were they the closest?
Like in terms of their time
Yeah,
skip.
like being as far as them their release.
Oh, yeah, I think they were. I think they were only like. Let's search it up
I mean,
for
shit, the
sure.
first one was released in the 70s, right?
Yes, the first one was released in
So far ahead of its
1979.
fucking time.
Yeah, like honestly. And then Aliens, I think it's either later. I don't remember for sure. Okay, yeah, so I was right. It wasn't super soon. I was originally gonna say it was like 2 years afterwards, but it was 1986. So it was
Okay,
like
yep. 7 years.
7 years.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's not
there.
bad, but when I think back about when it was actually made, we had just come out of um, the Star Wars era,
Yeah.
which was kind of like the big entree into, aside from Star Trek, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, which was TV, um, which I guess they had they kind of had the, I don't know. I Now I'm feeling out of my depth because I don't know the history of space sci-fi movies and shows and the chronology that well.
That's
Now
fair.
that I think about it, I'm
Was
like,
Star
holy
Wars was the
shit,
first like mainstream, like
makes me want to
super
dive
big.
into that.
Yeah. Star Wars was the first like mainstream like for audience that
Yeah.
let them like have a bigger universe than just like a movie, or like something that's outside of our realm of reality,
Mm-hmm.
because stuff like Lord of the Rings and things like that before that just really weren't given attention, you know,
Yeah,
in cinematics. And like people were making horror movies and like goofy things before this time, but I think Star Wars really ushered in a new era of nerdage that was accepted. You know,
I
nerdage for space,
think
nerdage
they
for
were the
like
first real theatrical, like big budget theatrical,
yeah.
space centric movie
There were other
franchise.
space movies like Space Odyssey, I think. Yeah, Space Odyssey, the original came out in 1961, you know, but that's a very like that's a serious movie, I'm pretty sure, you know, and that's like got HAL, that AI I think in it, you know, that's
That came
like
out in '61.
61 is I believe what that said. Where did that go?
The
It's
original.
1968.
Okay, and
So
then
10 years before Alien.
all right,
You got Stanley Kubrick's, or not Stanley Kubrick, the original 1968 Space
Stanley
Odyssey.
Kubrick did the 2001 Space Odyssey
Yeah.
as a kind of a remake or a tribute.
I bet it was a remake. I haven't seen them. We should watch those
I didn't
next.
know that I had no idea that it went as far back as 1968.
Yeah, like space movies were. I mean, you get this is whatchamacallit during the space race. You know, the '60s was when.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense that it would be. I hadn't gone deep into the history of I know the history of sci-fi, like novels and
Yeah,
stories, and um in my mind, Star Trek was the first, the really first dedicated to the screen, that people paid much attention to, and probably that's why I thought that, because that's all that was in my purview.
that is fair. The thing about Star Trek is it had a big fan base, but it did not have like a mainstream audience. You know, it had a dedicated like nerd
That's why
following,
they were called
right?
Trekkies.
Yes, and they weren't taken seriously because they were on television, and the big thing with television at the time was to not have serial stories, you know, stuff like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, like all of those things that we see nowadays that every
Hmm.
TV show is trying to be. That's not how it was. Everything was like a cartoon back in the day where
Oh
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
just watched them do something for an episode and then the next episode had no relation to the last episode. So that would like that's how Star Trek was.
If
So
you
I
think
think
about it,
that
I mean, like back in the '70s and early '80s is when my parents, my dad, um, and people that are my age, their parents were watching Star Trek, and that that was a good decade after the series actually started.
yeah.
And it finally developed, a generation after it started, developed a really decent sized fan base,
Yeah.
and then that obviously just exploded uh, into what it became now. But I mean, George Lucas took the story of space and space civilizations, which I believe he got from Isaac Asimov and what's his name, Frank Herbert. Am I saying the Dune?
Oh,
The writer of Dune.
oh, dude, is
Is it
another
Frank
one
Herbert?
that was kind of ahead of its time. I that sounds familiar.
Am I saying his name right?
It sounds right. I'm not completely sure.
People are gonna be screaming at me.
Oh, that's all right.
Um, but if you look at, like,
1984.
if you watch Foundation, you watch Foundation
Mhm.
right now and read the books, the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. They are telling the stories of the Empire. They're
Yeah.
telling the story of the Empire in Star Wars, and they're from the '50s, you know,
Mm.
and so, and people that are sci-fi nerds and everything are probably going to know this, but I got into it late in life. I got
Yeah.
into sci-fi really late in life, just not having been exposed to it much, as a young kid and as a young man. Um, as I started to get into it, I was like, started to like draw the parallels, and I was like, holy shit, this story that Isaac Asimov is telling, um, of this grand empire, this galactic-sized empire, sounds a lot like um, Star Wars and the Force,
Yeah.
and then it's been tweaked. Star Wars and the Force. I mean, you have people that have these powers in the Foundation series that are connected to a type of field and energy that's just pervasive,
Yeah.
which is reminiscent of the Force.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, on the shoulders of giants, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And George Lucas took something. I think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this because I haven't officially even looked it up. I could have like Googled this and been like, "Hey, was George Lucas like inspired by Isaac Asimov for
Yeah.
his Star Wars story?" Um,
I'll search that up right
yeah, we
now.
should.
Asimov. Well, the AI overview definitely would say yes. And some people are saying he simply copied him. What inspired him?
I'm not gonna have any. I'm not gonna say anything about
Yeah.
that. But my thoughts when I was watching,
Mhm.
well,
Like you had kind of that
first,
process.
like the first season of the Foundation came out. I was
Yeah.
like, this is fucking amazing. What have I been missing my whole life? And I went and got the book series on Audible
Yeah.
and listened to it. And of course, it's completely different than the TV or well, yeah, the TV, but the serial version of it.
Mm.
Um, maybe not completely. All the important parts are there,
Okay.
but genders of characters have changed and things like that.
Yeah.
But it can make it kind of confusing at first if you like, because there's a lot of names, you know what I mean? And if you,
Yeah.
like, especially if you're listening to it, which I read while I'm working, so I'm listening to my books now these days. Not like I did when I was a teenager in my 20s.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to keep track of all these names and I'm listening to the books. And then I'm watching the series and I'm like, oh, I recognize that. And I recognize that. And I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
like, but this is written like in the 50s, you know?
Yeah.
If you watch the Apple series that's out, I mean, it is fucking spectacular.
Really.
I mean, visually, it's just beautiful.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's got all this room to breathe. Like it doesn't just rush the story at all. Um, yeah, it's got room to breathe, and that's the best way I could describe it. And you see it. It's like it's painted onto the screen in front of you,
Yeah.
along with the story that goes with it. Um, and it feels a little more. You could actually feel the human race progressing to this point where we have expanded throughout the galaxy and
Yeah.
we populate multiple planets and star systems throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
And then we become completely different and we start warring with each other and these type of things. And then of course there are actual non-human entities that are included in our interactions, but Star Wars, it seems like Star Wars included more of those than, or not included, but created more of those than the Isaac Asimov. He was very human. It seems like he was very human centric. That we populated
Mm-hmm.
the galaxy. Um, but George Lucas's a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away was very clever
Yeah.
because what it did was like it removed
Disconnected.
it. It
Yeah.
removed it from that story and was like because it could be whenever.
Yeah.
It could have been whenever and wherever in an infinite universe.
Yeah.
And some little motherfucker that fucking traveled there a long time ago wrote it down in his journal and brought it all the way back here for us.
And the thing about Star Wars is the history that you're paying attention to in Star Wars is galactic scale,
Hmm.
right? So every planet's like our planet's entire history is nothing compared to what is going on in this intergalactic story,
Yeah.
right? And so when you watch the TV shows, you get dropped into these planets and you get to feel all their history and learn a lot about them,
Yep.
and see all these alien creatures and how these humanoid alien people have adapted to live on this planet. It may have high gases and it's really hot and stuff like that. So they are really used to no water and no food for a really long time, but they have to wear suits off
And
the
you see
planet
the
because they are.
evolutionary adaptations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how different species could become
Yeah.
spacefaring, how androids and AI totally are like have their own planet and race and stuff like that. And there's different kinds. There's some that are like, hey, kill fucking everything, and
Hmm.
then there's the ones that are like, we don't want to kill you. You're like, we'll work with you, but we're definitely not gonna, be your like best friends or
Right.
whatever. Like
Right.
we're out for us, but we're not gonna attack you. We this could be a mutual relationship, a symbiotic real one.
Give me a little bit of um a taste of what that says about what George Lucas was thinking, because before you do that, I want to say I think that he was kind of like, God damn, this is like a huge story.
Yeah.
It would look great on the big screen if I could like turn this into something that could be adapted to the big screen. Because he wasn't like trying to steal the story.
Yeah.
He's like something of this magnitude would look fantastic, would be epic,
Yeah.
on a theater screen.
Well, he was a writer, like a director writer. Like
Yeah,
when you look at him doing his process from the first
but he
three
was a
movies,
screenwriter,
yeah,
and that's a they're still writers, but they're a different breed. They see things a different way.
yeah,
It's not long form. It's like shorthand
yep,
for writing. And in Isaac Asimov, it's the same reason why Stephen King cannot be involved in writing his screenplays. The
yeah,
motherfucker keep him away from it because it ruins them all every fucking time, right?
yeah,
Because a good screenwriter knows how to take all that, compress it, and understands where things need to breathe, and where the audience, their observation is kind of an unspoken agreement. You know what I mean? You
yeah,
see what's happening, and there's a narrative in there, but it's not spoken. It's not written out. It's not narrated by an overdub or anything like that. It is unspoken, and it's skillfully woven into the story by a screenwriter. It's a whole different talent, than just writing a novel. And that, I mean, both of those are huge. The ability, and some people have the ability to do both. Some people can adapt one way or the other. George Lucas looked at this. It seems like he looked at it, and what I can appreciate is that he understood the grandeur of it and the magic of it,
yeah.
and enhanced that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because the mass appeal of
yeah,
Star Wars
yeah,
is undeniable.
right.
Like there's something for everybody in Star Wars.
So coming back full circle and getting to see something made by Apple, like the Foundation trilogy, or the Foundation series, I should say, um, brings it all back down to a compressed, grounded version that has a lot of the corniness stripped out of it. It was, I mean, and when I say that, I'm not throwing shade at all
Yeah,
on the uh, the original Star Wars movies or anything like that. It just it's grittier. It's
yeah.
grittier. It makes it more real, I guess.
And you know what? Those were always my favorite parts of
Yeah.
Star Wars, where they are gritty stories.
Yeah.
And that was what I grew up with, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like multiple generations of Star Wars too. Like it
Yeah.
affects multiple generations now. You have the original fans from the '80s that like were hardcore, and they saw the prequel stuff come out, and they the stuff that we were watching when we were kids, me and Ethan, and we were in love with it because it looked so cool, especially compared to the old movies. Like as a kid, you watch the old Star Wars and you're like, wow, this is really good. It's like a good thing. But then you saw like the CGI and like the like expansion of the whole world. And as a kid, I did not care about the politics and
Mhm.
everything. And even though that's most of those movies and they're kind of bad story wise,
and
I
most
love
people
them so
didn't give a
much.
shit, especially in that time frame. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why when The Godfather came out, everybody was like just blown away, like
yeah,
narrative wise and story wise. They were like, it was almost too much for them to be able to handle,
yeah,
Um, but this was all visual. It was all just spectacular,
yeah,
and then the idea of combining the spectacular with a very spectacular narrative started to become a little more viable or feasible in like the 80s and 90s, and then of course we ended up with the Matrix.
yeah. So true.
Yeah. Then we had the Matrix.
Yes. And we have the Matrix, and I think we're still feeling the repercussions of that today. You know,
Yep.
with superhero movies, they would not really be the way it is. You know,
That's
because
true.
that's kind of what they run on as well, and they had their own fan base and nerdage following going on with comic books and everything like that. You know,
Right.
so yeah. um,
That was food for thought. I'm just switching gears now.
that's fair.
Well, I'm glad we had that break because we needed it, but
Yes,
it also interrupted the thought process.
it
What
did.
happened right there when you when you talk about when you bring up the whole like just I don't know, decade of superhero movies that
Yeah,
happened not long after the Matrix, I'm going to say trilogy.
yeah,
So I don't count the fourth one.
yeah,
Um it kind of, I mean, would you say it kind of led the way into that because it kind of they were superheroes in that, right?
yeah.
Kind of opened the door for
Like it did, especially with like digital effects. You
yeah,
know, like it really opened people's eyes to like what they could be
a
doing
lot of
with
things
movies.
possible,
Yeah,
like visually, yeah.
yeah. And then that's when like Spider-Man, like dropped. And I mean, you had superhero movies before this, but they were always one-off, like super one-off. Like, well, I guess not. You had Blade, which was a very you had what mid 90s, late 90s type of
Mm,
production with that, and then they kept going into the 2000s. But Spider-Man was like the big one that got all the kids and like even like most adults that were Marvel fans, at that time,
right.
into those seats because it was Spider Man. That was the Superman of like Marvel for me.
And that is true. That came out right after Matrix was huge. The
Hmm.
first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, you're
Yeah,
right.
like 2002, 2001, and what 1998
And
for Matrix.
I do remember this. This is awesome because it's like kind of bringing back these memories that you forget,
Yeah,
I mean, and it kind of ties some things together. I was in the theater watching a the, the it might have I don't think it was the first Spidey. I think it was the second
uh huh,
with Tobey Maguire, and um, they were just getting the juices flowing for some more superhero movies. And
yeah,
um, I was watching all the trailers, which has always been my favorite part of the movie going experience. Like just getting there,
yeah,
got to get there for the trailers. And this trailer was probably the shortest teaser trailer I've ever seen, and one of my all-time favorite superheroes of all time was always the Hulk, the
yeah,
Incredible Hulk.
yeah,
Just like grew up watching the TV series with Lou Ferrigno, and the only thing they showed was this brick, like a brick bunker style thing,
yeah,
and they just showed it like the outside or from the inside, like just being pounded from the inside out,
Yeah.
and you heard that, and that's all they did.
Yeah.
That's all they did. It was just showed it exploding,
Yeah.
and they had like it kind of faded into green, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm like adding memories, probably am, but I
think I
remember it
know
being
what you're
very, very short and very teasing. And they knew that everybody would know
Yeah.
what they were referring to. And I was like, oh my God, they are making a fucking Incredible Hulk. Now, I'm not gonna lie. When I realized that it was CGI
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk, I was very disappointed
Yeah.
until I actually watched the movie,
And you like saw of his
and I was like,
capabilities.
fucking Christ, they can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that first Hulk movie. The first CGI
there's
one
a
is
special
just
place in my heart for that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love how powerful he is. He has never
Yeah.
been as powerful as he is in that movie.
In that one, I mean, they paid
Yeah.
homage to the Hulk
Yeah.
in that movie like
Yeah.
no other.
Yeah. And I would you know how excited I would be, to hear another like real Hulk movie, not just Hulk's in Spider-Man or he's in the Avengers and
Another
it's Smart
peripheral
Hulk
character
or
role.
something. No, I want like put him in a different universe. All right, I get he's so strong when you think about the comics and stuff. Like the writers don't know what to do with him, and so it's like I want fans of the Hulk to just take it and make a whole different series where it's not connected to the Marvel cinematic
Dude,
thing. And you get like
want
awesome, super powerful Hulk.
Look, we are in an era of TV magic.
Yeah.
Most people would rather sit home in their living room and watch a series, okay, even a limited series, than go to the theater and pay $20 per person to see 2 hours of a story that's been like really trimmed down to almost nothing, to just like the very like the most important points, the bullet points of a story is what a movie really has become, in my mind anyway. That's my opinion, because the serial nature of stories these days has captured my imagination. If I were writing something, I wouldn't want it turned into a movie.
Yeah.
If I were writing a novel that I felt very passionate about,
Yeah.
I would want it turned into a series that would go on, I don't know, HBO, Netflix, Amazon, something, Apple. 3 seasons, no more. No more than 3 seasons. Depending on how big the story was. I think that the Hulk story, they could take from the old series, the old Lou Ferrigno series, with the Lonely Walking Man music.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
The energy of it is very much there, like
Let's see if we can find it real quick. We have to.
Him walking.
It won't be enough to like do a trigger copyright ding. I don't think. It'd be like 10 seconds. There it is.
Yeah.
Yep. He's usually walking away with his backpack right there.
Yeah, just
down
the road. And that honestly has been done so much in whatchamacallit, like footage sense, you know? Like it's like a classic,
Well, he would always end up being forced to turn into the Hulk, save somebody's ass. Then they would try to capture him, that stupid fucking detective and reporter. And they would just barely not get him.
Yeah.
And he would pick his backpack up and walk down the street, put his thumb out, and hitchhike. That was back in the day when it was safe to pick up hitchhikers, apparently.
Apparently.
Because there was no serial killers back then. But anyway, thanks for that indulgement.
Too much, No, that's okay. Because I've heard that. I didn't know that came from that show.
Indulgence. I said indulgement.
but I didn't know that came from the show because I've heard that a lot, just like throughout my life, like used as
Yeah,
editing, like in YouTube videos and stuff.
really.
Yeah, so it's cool. That's like it's embedded in culture, in a like subconscious way.
Right.
It's very cool.
It is.
I would love to see the Hulk
But
just
I
done right
do
again.
you think they could do that?
I
I
think they
mean,
could totally do a show where it was like that premise too, of like
I don't even
him
think you would need
being forced.
CGI. There are big enough
They
people in the
would.
world now. You
It would
can
be cool if they did
combine
it in a way where they didn't need it. Yeah,
you could
like
combine the CGI with real, and you would never even know.
like get an actual like
Yeah,
monster man. I mean, there are the like people want the Hulk to look like the guy he was when he was small, you know?
yeah.
And like that's always been, I guess, something hard for them to do. Like Lou Ferrigno's face doesn't
That's why
look
the
like
CGI was kind
yeah,
of
the
cool
guy.
because it
Yeah.
kind of like the face still had some of
Yeah.
those features.
And like the Incredible Hulk, like the other one they did after the second CGI one. Um Edward Norton did not look like the Incredible Hulk at all.
In my opinion, I
And
don't
people
think they
were
need
like
to because they are changing into a they're,
like
they're
someone else.
morphing into a monster. You
Yeah.
know, you don't need to you don't need to look like the guy that you were before that.
Yeah,
Like
especially when you look at the comics, the Hulk never looks like the guy he was
no,
before. He's Bruce Banner is always like a really skinny, lanky dude. Like he's a tall, skinny, lanky dude with like short brown hair,
yeah.
glasses, and like when you look at comics, and then the older versions of him is like a decrepit version of that with like angly hair and stuff, and that's usually evil Bruce Banner,
My
ultimate
least
version
favorite
stuff.
was Mark Ruffalo. I did not like
Oh yeah,
that
It-
at all.
yeah. He just
I didn't. He didn't say Hulk to me.
yeah. I feel bad because he really likes the character and he wants like the movie and the chance, but he also like doesn't fight for it. You know,
I
I
mean,
don't know how else to
I'm
say it.
okay with them like him as I don't know. I They tried too hard to make him look like his original character
Yeah,
in that Marvel. I don't even remember. This is how little I paid attention to it. I don't remember which Marvel movie that was that he was in.
he was in a few. He was in the original Avengers. He was in Age of Ultron, and then he was in Ragnarok. And then he was not in Infinity War,
He
which
was in all those.
pissed me off. Yeah, he's been a side character
It's
in
when I
the
stopped
Marvel
paying attention. I
movies
just
for
didn't
so
like it like
long.
that. He should have been a
He
main
didn't even show
character.
up in Infinity War. He was Bruce Banner the entire movie, and the whole concept was that he got his ass kicked by Thanos so hard that the Hulk was like, "Well, now I don't want to fight anymore. I'm just not going to do it."
Yeah,
And so he had to like get into a Hulkbuster Tony Stark suit to even be in the movie. And it's like, what are we doing with the Hulk, dude?
that
He's one of
ruins
the coolest
everything.
guys. Yeah,
Like
and
I
they
said, way too many superheroes.
yeah, and it
Everybody
sucks
was
because
superheroes,
they used
like
him.
highlighting the whole page.
Yeah, and they used him as a power setter, right? Because everybody knows the Hulk is strong. So at the start of the movie, what's the first thing they do? They have Hulk go up and try to beat Thanos, and Thanos fucking kicks his ass and packs him up real quick to show how strong Thanos is to make him a scary villain. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that, but you didn't give the Hulk a redemption. He
I didn't.
literally
I
like got an off-screen whatever
I did.
between
I think
movies.
that's when I checked out.
Yeah, it just feels so.
I might have been biased a little bit.
That's okay. I don't know. At least you know, there's always the future, I think eventually something like that always happens.
It's all
uh,
right. They can stay
but
there.
yeah, I don't know. I all things considered, I do feel pretty lucky because I remember being a kid and like really wanting more from Spider-Man and Aliens, especially the Alien franchise and like the Predator franchise and stuff as a kid. And I feel pretty lucky that I do get to have all those things be expanded on, and I do get to kind of like.
One thing we haven't talked about is your favorite superhero though? Batman.
That's tough. Well, you're right, because I'd say he's neck and neck with Spider-Man. I really don't think I could edge one out over the other because there's sometimes where I'm like, oh, Spider-Man, and there's other times where I'm like, it's fucking Batman, you know?
I mean, I get people that have Batman as their favorite superhero because he's all human,
Yeah,
right? Kind of like Tony Stark, kind
yeah,
of like Iron Man,
and I do like
the
Iron
Marvel
Man.
version.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I've always I
they
like
really are. Like if you take Tony Stark and fucking I am drawing a blank on the name of Batman's
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, they are practically the same character.
yeah,
They're wealthy, secluded, or uh, they're very they keep to themselves.
yeah.
Um,
There are key differences,
very reclusive.
like Tony Stark's not a reclusive guy. He's a like full on philanthropist at the
I
start.
guess that's
He's like
true.
like a
I
full
guess
on
that's true. He
playboy
is. He's not reclusive like
at
fucking
that's the thing about Tony Stark is he kills people and he like has helped like inadvertently because he built weapons of war before he made the Iron Man suit, and it wasn't until he was affected by his own weapons of war that he
yeah,
realized
yeah,
like what he was doing,
right.
and that's what makes Tony Stark cool is he started building machines for humanity instead of for himself.
But they are a similar character in that they used
Traumas,
their money and their traumas
yeah,
to develop technology
yes,
that could make them superhero
equivalent to
like,
superheroes,
yeah,
yeah.
esque.
And for Tony, it's a suit of armor. You know, it's his whole thing. A suit of armor around the world is what he pictures. He says that in the movies, you know. And for Batman, it is about justice, sometimes vengeance, you know. And for me, that's what edges out Batman is he's like that. He's this super dark, edgy, gothic character, but he like refuses to kill, right? And it for mainstream things, for most superheroes, it is just you kill people. That's what makes Superman awesome. I love it when he doesn't, when he uses all of his power to
The Zack
save people.
Snyder Batman is when that became different.
Yeah,
It's when they changed that.
and I don't. It's
That's
not that
also when
I
Superman became a darker Superman.
dislike it. I like Zack Snyder's Batman. I really like, or I said Batman, Superman. I really like Henry Cavill's Superman. Like I love his like just the whole image and cinematography of
I
what
mean,
Zack Snyder was
he
able to do
was
with him is
also a very
awesome.
he had all the altruism,
Yeah,
that Superman should have.
and he did save
But the
people.
comic
Like,
books included the dark side of Superman,
yeah,
and so I don't feel like this bubblegummy fucking cotton candy version of Superman that they have just recently come out with was necessary.
well, it's a multiverse type of thing is how I think about it because I've also grown up with that Superman, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in cartoons specifically. That is usually who Superman is. When you see his character, he is always he's either the super naive, like gullible one, you know, like he's just so fast and so strong that he's not worried, like ever, you know, about being beaten, you know?
Right.
So he's just kind of like not paying attention as much as he could be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and usually that's when he's playing off of Batman, you know, and Batman has to like work his like ass off to just like keep up with these superheroes. And it's like the same thing with like the Green Lantern and stuff like that. They have their own beef. But so it's either that or he's like evil in the cartoons and he's like super terrifying, right?
Right.
But he's always kind of like this shining figure, almost like Jesus, you know? Like people like refer to Batman where he's like Batman's like I'm like Batman, you know, I'm this depressed guy that wants to fight for justice and blah blah blah. And then when they think about Superman, they're like, "Oh, I could never be him." You know, because he's like so much better than me in every
Mm-hmm.
way and he's so altruistic and heroic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um and that's I love that version of the spaceman with
I
all the
think
power
I
in the
think
world.
that the
That's
reason why
super
that
gentle.
Superman was my second. I don't know which one was my first. I can't go back and figure out which one. I think they were neck and neck, but I liked that both of them were beyond what the average human being thinks that we can be,
Yeah,
right? Um, and Superman was straight up alien,
Yes.
Um, but he wasn't so alien, which is why I kind of, you know, wrote that little bit of an outline for a story for the House of L.
Yeah.
Because there is a back history there that could be tied into if you wanted to make a story out of it. Um, because he was most certainly human-esque. I mean, he had all the human characteristics, except for he could do things that human beings on this planet couldn't do.
Yeah.
But it was almost left to conjecture that we were somehow related, that it was
Yeah.
somehow
And it's
we
never
had
been.
incorporated, but it's never been elaborated
Yeah.
on. With the Hulk, it was just like a freak accident in a lab that
Yeah.
turned him into something that was just superhuman. And as a kid, I like always had these dreams of like stumbling upon this chemical,
Yeah.
that and when I think back about it, I think about how dangerously close I could have been to like fucking sniffing the wrong fucking thing, because I had a very big imagination as a
Yeah.
kid. My parents used to be like, I was worried about you getting on the roof and jumping off of, because I wanted to be a superhero.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be two specific ones, and I wanted to be either Superman or the Hulk.
Yeah.
Um, because they were the farthest thing from the weakling human being that I could see
Yeah.
that we were on this planet. Um, and I guess what that boils down to is I don't think that necessarily that that's what we are. You
Yeah.
know, um, I think that all the writers that have written these stories that kind of like had that same desire,
Yeah.
to see us like extend out of our shell a little bit.
I just watched Romulus today, and I like hearing the androids talk, like just hearing them speak like with this almost human what's the right word? Thought
Logic.
process. Yes, logic of
Yeah.
like this is a well and overdue upgrade for
Mm-hmm.
humanity. Like I
Yeah.
love Rook.
You used to
Like
be
the
food.
science, yeah, exactly. The scientist robots are so interesting because they are programmed to like anything for science, for progressing science. It's for the
Yeah.
company as well. They're programmed to like they're hardlined into the company as well, but it is for science, and that's how you have stuff like David happen, like a robot, a personal robot to this guy
Mm-hmm.
who he let all those limiters off. He's like, well, you get to be an AI that's like my pet, basically, you know? And what did that AI do with no limiters and it cares about nothing, whatnot? It wanted to destroy humanity and make and basically become what they did. You got to watch Prometheus again with David in mind, like the most evil android out there, because he has no
Yeah.
company limiters on him.
Oh, well,
Every other android we get to see as the company's interests in mind, and he does not. He gets to actually choose what he wants to do.
one thing I do want to say because I'm going to have to wrap
Yeah,
this up, but one thing I
yeah,
do want to say as we wrap this up is, what do the synths have to do with anything in this narrative, this Earth, this alien Earth narrative? The new synths, the kids,
so the hybrids, not
because they are not, well, they're considered
well, the people call them synths, but they are
right.
hybrids.
You're right.
Because there's the three, cyborgs or men or people that have had machine installed into them.
Well, think about this.
Mhm.
There's something that's not being addressed directly in the story,
Yeah,
and that's consciousness,
yeah,
because it's a consciousness transferal.
yeah.
What's happening right there?
Like their hormones.
There's something there that's not being completely addressed so far in the narrative, is that the, the kids, their bodies died, and they transferred their consciousness.
Or copied them.
But
So
that's
what if
but
it's
that's
not?
exactly, but that's my
Yeah,
point. That's not clear in
yeah,
the story, in the narrative. All it is a transfer of that being, that was inside of a human meat bag, flesh body, is transferred into an unstoppable machine that is highly advanced, not only is it copied, but they have their memories, but they also have the same drive to grow up, even without the hormones,
Yeah.
without the chemicals that their body would normally give them, that drives your brain to turn you into what you might consider an adult.
Yeah.
What's already happening, because if you listen closely, the Peter Pan character,
Yeah.
the boy genius, wants to keep them children. So
Yeah.
they're always malleable,
Yeah.
always malleable, always fresh, always see the world in a kind of playful way,
Yeah. In a creative way.
which I would say those are the same things. But
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
that's
that's
kind
a
of
better way of putting it. Um, but it doesn't specifically address what that means. It doesn't
yeah.
address the idea of consciousness. Some people are going to say, like you just like pointed out, like a copy, but is it? Does that mean that that
Well, think
our
about
our
the
consciousness and how we think resides completely inside of
I
this machine right here?
I don't believe that. Like I believe that, but I don't believe it is like I don't think it can be transferred. Like I think if we did get to this point and we did it, I think it would be like copying ourselves because our
But
brains
what
are a
if?
collection of chemicals and our genes. It's our genes and then our experiences on the planet that shape the chemical balances of our personality and our brain.
To an extent,
Yeah,
to an extent,
but
but who
without
you
your
are
brain,
inside there, yeah, your genes are, those are all specific to your biology.
yeah,
Period. And that's why I'm saying it
but
did
it
not
has to be
it
transferred into
it didn't
data
it
in a
didn't
way.
address that. It didn't address that. So some of that is being copied, but I don't. What if we are projected here? Because
Yeah,
it has been at least um hypothesized that our consciousness, what makes us us, is not necessarily residing in this machine that we call our body. That's actually projected into it, which is why we can have these strange experiences. You know what I mean? And then
hmm
you'll have the pure materialist who will say, well, these are just chemical reactions in your brain, and you're just seeing things that are being like created by your brain because you associate them with this and that. You know what I'm saying? Rationalizing it to death. But the fact that we can actually communicate more than likely with each other without our voices, without our devices, that's something that's becoming so much more accepted because it has been tested over and over and over again. There's the thought that, well, say if they took that body that those kids were in and found the root program and projected it into this new system, right? I mean, if you think about it, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all of these things that we never, like, if even 50 years ago would have been like magic 50 years ago.
yeah,
We wouldn't understand how or why it would have been magic to us. It really is just a connection. It's just two signals connecting. So what that's kind of says to me and to a lot of other people is that consciousness kind of resides outside of that physical piece of hardware.
And
Just like the information that's running through that hard drive resides outside of it. It doesn't exist inside of it.
yeah, because it's connected to the internet.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, when you put it into like that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
that is like that is this reality. That is how this reality for sure works, and we get to see it from that perspective, being the gods that we are, to that we made this, so we can understand it in that way. So you, in that, I could see that. I I don't know. I almost feel like there is no human soul. Like nothing has a soul. Like everything is made up of its experiences, you know? Because a huge portion of me believes that the universe did just fucking pop into existence, you know, and everything that's happened is just happened. And there is no God of any kind. And that when we die, there is nothing afterwards. It is just sleep, you know? You won't be able, it's not even like a terrifying, like, purgatory of darkness forever. It is just your consciousness has been turned off, right? And eventually, maybe it will come back on, but it will just happen again. You know, just this weird loop of unfortunate or fortunate, however you see it, you know, because it's so beyond our scale. But that's like there is no creator type of thinking, right? So I come from it in a way of like, okay, so if I wasn't made by something, how do we think? How does that come to be? And is it possible for all these other animals that we are
I th-
living
I
around
think
to
you
be thinking?
articulated that in probably the most perfect way that it could be articulate for something that's unknown.
Yeah,
I believe that everything's information,
yeah.
and I believe that information cannot be destroyed. And certain information tends to have a cohesiveness. It finds itself again.
I mean, it's
It's
always there.
attracted to itself. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So this conversation is huge
yeah.
at this point.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah. Um, so to be continued, I would say.
Yeah, great place to end it. This has been the Observer Effect. Thanks for listening in with us. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Peace.